What if I told you that for the next 30 days, someone's going to follow you around and keep a record of everything you do wrong? Like every time you eat a few grapes in the grocery store while you're waiting in line. Or maybe you lie about being sick when you're really not sick to get to work. Or you skip Sunday dinner at your in-laws and you lie that your children are not feeling well. Or you tell a little white lie to your spouse. Or maybe you even lie to a police officer to get out of a ticket. We've all done something like that, right? Then what if I told you that it could follow you in a national database for the rest of your life? That it could haunt you every time you go for a loan, to apply for school, to rent an apartment, to buy a house, to acquire resources for you and your children, or to even try to get property or medical insurance, but most of all, just to get a job. What if every bad decision hung over your head for the rest of your life? I ask you these things because this is what I've experienced every single day for the last 14 years. Let me tell you about the person you see before you today. Today, I am the founder of a nonprofit extended care for women struggling with substance use disorder. I'm an intensive outpatient program director at Mountain View Recovery here in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm an internationally certified alcohol and drug counselor operating in 2 different states, and I'm the lead on the oral history sweeping the nation for people struggling with substance use disorder. But most importantly, what people do not see when they think about addiction is that I'm human, just like you, with a family who loves me, with friends and colleagues that look up to me. Well, today, I am the mother of 3 highly successful children. Today, I'm successful. Today, I'm determined and every day to be the change. Today, I am hope. Today, I am the miracle known as recovery. Today, I am freedom from active addiction. December 23rd, 2006 is the day that would forever change my life. Never would it be the same. That is the day that I became a justice-involved individual for possession with intent, distribute, manufacture, dispense, or sell. Just 2 years into my sentence, I would receive yet another felony. And that would leave me only lost from connection. The opposite of addiction you see is connection. So another drug-related felony left me yet another charge. But let me tell you how I got there. At the age of 5 months, I became blind in one eye from a tragic accident. And just 3 months later, I would be even more disconnected from normalcy as my mother lay dead on an operating table at the age of 29. Imagine for me, if you would, for just a minute, your entire lifeline, everything that had ever every person who had ever greeted you, the person who had greeted you every morning, your only caretaker, was gone in the blink of an eye. My father, an enlisted Navy man, would spend the rest of his career trying to find someone, anyone, to take care of this little girl with a multitude of injuries and medical needs. By kindergarten, it was clear I would never know what it was like to see out of 2 eyes. The teasing and torment would follow me for many years to come. As my father answered the call to serve time and time again, I was left with a woman he thought he could trust, only to be severely beaten, abandoned, and even left outside in the blistering cold, starving with my older brother, begging for food, with cigarette burns on our body if we dare shed one tear. I was blessed to have some family members who fought very hard to free me from this trauma. And eventually they succeeded, but the damage was done. This is where my addiction began, not with drugs and alcohol, but with the need for validation. I yearned to be wanted. I yearned to be needed. I yearned to be accepted at any and all cost, whatever it took to hear the words, "I love you." Just to believe for a moment as someone, anyone cared. As I lost more and more of myself and attempted suicide over and over, turning to drugs and alcohol were just another part of my journey. I was trying to hide the pain, trying to gain control. Jails, mental institutions, and my acceptance of death had become my only destination. For me, the chains of my addiction would be broken in 2012. When I found myself staring back at my children's eyes, tears streaming down their face, I felt my very heart shatter against the bulletproof glass. 10 months of being unable to touch them. 10 months of being unable to hold them. 10 months, and I still could not stop their little hearts from aching for their mother. That is the moment that brought me to my knees. And at that moment, I promised myself my children would never look at me through glass again. Freedom will come from someone so much greater, so much wiser, and so much more powerful. As I stood in front of a judge for the fourth and final time, my opportunity would come in the form of restoration, in shackles and waist chains, ashamed, embarrassed, and afraid of who and what I had become. As the district attorney pled his case for every injustice I had made to an unforgiving system, the judge looked at me with redemption and grace, and he said, "This state will do this woman no good. Let her go home. Let her get her life together. Let her go back to work." And that's just what I did. And so I was sober. And I thought I was free. But the better I got and the more sober I became and the longer I stayed sober, I still had no access to the big four: food, housing, education, and employability. All because of a drug charge. I was a new person living a new life with what I thought was endless possibilities from the drastic changes I had made. How was I supposed to contribute to a society who had shut me out of its most basic privileges? I will never forget being met at the door, 34 days of employment as a supervisor. "Give us your keys, give us your badge, HR won't touch you. We just got your criminal record back." It didn't matter how honest I was. Or just 2 years ago when I applied for a home and I was denied because my background was less than favorable. For what you see is they didn't see the person standing in front of you today. They only saw what I looked like on paper, and that was all that mattered. I had no value. How do we become productive members of society and provide for our children when we have no access to the resources that change our lives? What makes the difference in the ability to allow for the access to the big four? Food, housing, education, and employability. Do you understand that our current system determines how successful we are by whether or not we reoffend, not by whether or not we're success? Our success is not measured by our perseverance, our accomplishments, or our victories, but only our failures. The same system strips us from anything that even can be conceived as success. We are no longer allowed access to the big four: food, housing, education, and employability. Our current system spends billions of dollars a year educating prisoners as a form of rehabilitation. Yet when they return to society, they cannot get jobs doing the things they were rehabilitated and trained to do. They are fed false hope of a brighter future with your tax dollars. Our system allows men and women to get degrees, teaches them a trade, even then allows them to fight our national forest fires while in prison. These prisoners in California risk their lives every day for a community to save a community that they could not be a part of once released from prison. Instead, they were told no because of their criminal records. Why were they good enough to fight the fires during incarceration, but not allowed to fight them and not allowed to protect the same community they served their lives with? As we become productive members of society, we are told no again and again and again. Application after application after application. In 14 years, 2 months, and 24 days, the only thing the system has ever given back to me is the right to vote for the success of this country. They have never given me true freedom. I'm still enslaved to background checks, still denied housing, still unable to participate in food and education programs available to others. Sex offenders, murderers, and rapists are still allowed access to 2 of the big 4 that I am not. Though I was given grace and mercy and God made a way, I am only one that made it out despite the obstacles. What about the other mothers, the other women, the other daughters, the other men? When will they get their chance for success? When will the paper trail and the guilt and shame stop following them? I am forever caught in a system that will not forgive me, will not allow me to make an amends to society. After all, that's the reason I was sentenced in the first place? To pay my debt to society? Yet my interest is compounded daily and my debt will never be paid in full. Governmental amnesty is the answer. Governmental amnesty is a concept that I only thought I was creating for people like me. But in Georgia Bill Senate 288, they have allowed the certain access for expungement for some misdemeanors and drug non-related felonies, also known as the Second Chance Law in Georgia and the Second Chance Act here in North Carolina. But it's just not enough. It's just not enough. It's an amazing start. Remember, even this does not help me because I have multiple convictions. In 2018, an ISA Journal of Labor Policy found workers with a criminal background check, with criminal backgrounds appear to be no worse and possibly even better than workers without such background. Bills like this also need to restrict access to criminal records where eligibility to the Big Four are concerned: food, housing, education, and employability. It is vital that we continue to reform the criminal justice system for successful reintegration, restoration, and our only genuine goal is not a lifetime of setbacks and punishments. I am what over 25 million in recovery today can contribute to your community if given the chance. But the solution can be found in you. Inside each of you is a voice. Will your voice be heard with compassion and humanity? Their voice is powerful enough to change the reality for people, so many just like me. Governmental amnesty creates a system that no longer continues to punish people for a lifetime of setbacks and bad choices. And it does not shut them out from the very existence they need to be successful. It will limit accessibility of criminal records that empower individuals to turn from criminal activity and be catapulted into redemption, restoration, and success. It is you and your voice that can turn this concept into a movement sweeping the nation. Will you raise your voice by advocating, by supporting, by speaking up for individuals like us? Today, I am determined to be the change. Today and every day, I am hope. Today, I am the miracle known as recovery. Today, I have earned governmental amnesty. Today, will you be the beacon of hope and inspire a miracle, not as recovery? Will you become the difference that inspires? Today, will you be the change?